Hey y'all, Joefer here, the Cranky Old Gay Guy. Today is Wednesday, December 4th, and we're going to be discussing something that I know all of you want to hear about, and that is the Netflix Christmas movie called Hot Frosty. That's right, it's all about a snowman that comes to life and finds romance. The innocence of childhood. Okay, so this movie stars Lacey Chabert. I think that's her name, Chabert. She plays Kate, the grieving widow in this small town called, I don't know, Willow Falls, something, something. It's in New York and it's snowing. And of course, everyone is festive because it's Christmas. And she loses her husband to cancer. They owned a cafe, and now it's just her in the cafe running it, and she has cooks and staff and everything. But her life is not what it used to be. Her house is falling into disrepair. She's got a leaky roof. There's a damaged tread on her stairs. She's just not in the Christmas spirit. Her house isn't decorated. Oh my gosh, she's just, ugh. And I have no idea how long ago her husband died, but she's a widow. So she's walking home one evening. And of course, there's a snow sculpture in the middle of the town square because it's Christmas and it's a small town in New York. So, of course, there's going to be something in the town square because every small town has to have a town square. So she's looking at these sculptures and she actually climbs up on this, looks like a snowbank with sculptures on it. And she's looking at them, and one of them looks more like a statue. It's a very muscular man. Who's ripped in the pecs and the chiseled jaw and all that stuff. And she looks at him and she's just enthralled with this piece of snow. And she takes off her scarf and said something like, "Oh, you look cold," or "This would make you look better." And she takes her scarf off and puts it around this snowman, which is an ice sculpture, pretty much. And then she leaves. Well, right after she leaves, there's all this stardust spinning around the snowman's or the iceman's head, and he becomes flesh and blood. I mean, we knew this was coming, right? Yeah. And he is like a newborn child, doesn't know what's going on. Everything is in awe. It's all says, "Oh, ah, oh, oh, ooh, ah," like he's surprised at everything. And he begins running up and down the street. And he's naked, and this guy is played by Dustin Milligan, who you might remember from the TV show Schitt's Creek, where he played the hot veterinarian that was dating Alexis Rose. Really killer body. I mean, the guy definitely works out. But in this film, he is not only worked out, but he is cut like he's ready for a competition. He has like zero body fat, which is a little extreme. All of his veins pop. Every time he moves his arm, his muscles, you see everything move. His face has lost a lot of weight, so you see all of the... As you get older, you lose collagen up here and fat. Like I have these indentations now. I used to have chubby cheeks, now I have indentations. And in certain lights, you can see all of these muscles. Well, he's pretty young, but he has lost so much body fat that every time he makes any expression, you see all the muscles in his face. And it's a little distracting for me because he's too young to look like that. But body-wise, incredible body fit. So he is running up and down the street, just looking around. An old couple walking a dog see him, and the husband's, appalled and calls the police. And the wife says something like, "Shut up, he's doing a public service," because she's into him. He ends up looking at clothes in a window because he sees people are wearing clothes. And he leans up against a window and it breaks and he falls into this clothing store. Walks around. He ends up picking up some clothes, some shoes, a shirt, jeans, whatever. And then he's back out on the street again. And the shirt he picked up looks like a gas station attendant shirt. This is I think it's a used clothing store or a vintage shop or something. His shirt, I don't think it has sleeves. I think they're ripped off. And there's a label here that says Jack, meaning that the gas station attendant's name was Jack. So he then ends up, I want to say at the diner that she works at, and she goes into work and people are, I think that's how she met him. Pretty sure that's how she met him. Anyway, he recognizes her as the woman who gave him the scarf. She has no idea who he is. Everyone thinks he's kind of crazy because he's in awe of everything and he doesn't know where he's at or who he is really. And she says, well, that name on your shirt is Jack, so your name's Jack, right? And he goes, oh, yeah, of course. Okay, she tries to get to the root of things, and she takes him across the street to a doctor because he's very, very cold, but he's also sweating because he's melting, of course, because he's a snowman. And across the street is this doctor who happens to, I think, be her best friend. She goes by the name of Dottie, and she is played by Katie Mixon Greer? She looks like another actress that I've seen around a lot who was on Kevin Can F Himself and also on The Righteous Gemstones. But I looked it up and it's a different actress, just a very similar appearance. Only this one seems to have all new veneered teeth because they just pop out at you. Yeah. And her eyebrows are really painted on a bit extreme for a small town, I would say, especially if you're a doctor seeing people every day. Anyway, she says that his temperature is at 30 degrees, and then Kate ends up telling the doctor what happened and that this is actually a snowman and he came to life, and the doctor's all, oh, okay, wow. Anyhow, she takes him home to her house, and she learns that the sheriff, played by Craig Nelson, he's the comedy relief in the movie, he just does this dumb slapstick, stupid stuff. And his deputy is another actor who's a comedian and a comedic actor. I wouldn't say comedian, but comedic actor who was on Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I think that's what the show was. And his name is Joe Lo Truglio. He's a short Italian-looking guy. I've seen him in other movies. He's been around too, and he kind of plays the deputy who's smarter than the sheriff, but pretends to be a dimwit because the sheriff's kind of the dimwit. Yeah, and it's kind of dumb. Anyway, Kate learns that the sheriff's out to get him for streaking and suspects that he broke into this clothing store. So she tells him to stay home, watch TV. I got to go to work. I'll be back later. In watching TV, Jack is a really quick learner, and he watches all of these home improvement shows. So he learns how to do things really quick. So while she's gone, he gets up on the roof and fixes the leak in her roof. Now, I don't know how he does this without any roofing supplies or anything, but it looks like he's reshingling the roof. Some woman drives by, an older woman who ends up running into a snowbank because she's staring at him because, of course, when he's doing the roofing in the snow, it's not snowing at the moment, but it's cold, he doesn't have his shirt on. So he runs down to the car to see if she's okay. And, of course, there's this close-up of her, and out her window, it's just his tip boobs to his lower abs. You can see how ripped he is. She suggests or asks him to come hang up a light at her house. He says he has to stay home. He made a promise. And this woman says, well, Kate's my best friend, so any friend of hers is a friend of mine. I'm sure it'll be okay. So he goes to fix this light, and she has all of her elderly, when I say elderly, I mean 60 plus, women around just drinking wine and watching him hang this light. And he says, I got to get home, and they're all upset about that. But instead, they take him they all get in this convertible. Again, it's cold, it's winter, and they're all in a convertible. And they drive to the diner and drop him off there. He's all happy and excited. Kate's upset that he left the house. The sheriff sees him, comes in, tries to confront him. Kate manages to get him away without saying too much. takes him back home and says, hey, you need to stay home. He says, I can't. I made a promise to one of the ladies when I was hanging the light that I'll go work at the middle school and do some repairs for them. And I promised, so I have to do this. Kate says, tell him no. He argues and says, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't know how long I'm here. I need to do as much good things as I can. Okay. So then he goes to the school. Everybody loves him. So now the whole town loves him. Well, the sheriff finds that there's an ATM machine that's camera captured him streaking and breaking into this clothing store. So he comes and arrests him, takes him to jail. He does this in the diner, by the way. And everyone sees it, and they're all really upset because everyone loves Jack. And they puts him in the jail, and it's too warm for him, so he just leans up against the wall and kind of starts sweating profusely and dying. And they're trying to persuade the sheriff not to do this. And he's saying, the law is the law, blah, 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 blah. I'm up for election. The law is the law. And it's Christmas Eve, by the way. All of this has happened she did this the day before Christmas Eve, the scarf thing. And all this has happened pretty much in just one day. So I don't know how she took him home twice to her house when it was Christmas Eve already. There's some discrepancies in this film that I'm just not going to think about because it'll drive me crazy. He says, okay, I'll let him out on Christmas Eve. Otherwise, we have to wait till the 26th because no one's here tomorrow. She says he's going to die before then. Well, pay the bail of $2,000 and we'll release him in your custody. She runs back to the diner. She doesn't have $2,000 in cash. She takes up a collection. People at the diner give her money. She runs over. She goes, I don't have enough yet. The sheriff says, tough, you have to get the money. Suddenly, the whole town shows up. Sheriff's going, oh, what's going on about this? And someone makes a speech about you lead by your actions and you're up for election and, we remember your actions. And he goes, well, you still need to pay the money. So she passes the hat to the crowd. They're still like $50 short. So the sheriff's not going to do it. And then his son comes up, or I'm sorry, they're $10 short. His son comes out of the crowd, who Jack made friends with at the middle school, and offers some cash. And he's going, what are you doing this for, son? He's a criminal. And he said, but he's my friend. So now dad has a change of heart, and he just releases Jack and says, okay, you can have him. No bail needed. And they go in, and he's passed out on the floor, pretty much dead. So the sheriff and the deputy carry him out and throw him into a snowbank because Kate tells him that he's actually a snowman. And by the way, at the diner, when he's arrested, Kate's saying, you can't arrest him. He's going to melt. He's going to die. And her best friend is there. And she goes, oh yeah, it's because he's a snowman. And everyone in the audience in the crowd goes, yeah. And Kate's saying, wait a minute, you guys all just believe this? And they go, well, yeah, I mean, it's Christmas. Why not? Back to the sheriff's department. They throw him out in the snowbank. He's dead. Kate kneels over him, takes the scarf off of him, gives him a kiss, and her friend leads her away, and the crowd disperses. As they walk away, Jack suddenly stands up and yells, Kate! And she runs back to him. They look into each other's eyes. They kiss. And he goes, I don't know what I'm feeling. And it turns out that he's cold and his body's warm because that one kiss when he died has turned him into a human. Oh. In the very next scene, which again, it's Christmas Eve, they go back to the house, and prior to his arrest, they went back to the house and she found out that he had repaired everything. He decorated the house with Christmas decorations, and she had to forgive him for leaving the house because he's doing such a good thing. After he dies and comes back to life, the next scene is Christmas Eve, and he opens an envelope, and it's 2 tickets to Hawaii. Hawaii for us? Really? Unbelievable. Okay, this is a small town. It's Christmas Eve when he dies. It's Christmas morning, I guess, when he opens the envelope. Maybe even Christmas Eve. Where did she get 2 tickets to Hawaii in a small town on Christmas Eve when everything is closed? And these aren't tickets that she just printed on her computer. These are in the little brochure holders, and it makes no sense at all. Also, that doesn't make sense is in the beginning, when they were trying to figure out how he came to life, he said it must be this scarf. It must have your magic in it. So he would not take the scarf off. However, when he was up on the roof fixing it without his shirt on, he didn't have a scarf on. And when he was at the dance, he had the scarf on, then he didn't have the scarf on. And there were a couple other scenes where he just wasn't wearing the scarf. So it wasn't what was keeping him alive, even though that's what they said it was. So that makes no sense either. All in all, this is a slow moving, it's an hour and a half, it's a slow moving story. Could have been done in 20 minutes. Visually, he is the best looking thing in the movie. If you like Schitt's Creek, you'll probably like this movie because he's got a fun personality. Would I recommend this movie to others? Well, I think this movie would have done much better if it was just a cartoon. It's kind of, that's what the story is. It's a real cartoon story, only set with real actors. Is it a kid's movie? All except the romance thing, because young kids don't care about romance. Was it a terrible waste of time? No, I mean, it took me 3 settings to watch it because I'd watch it and then fall asleep and turn it back on another day. It's been out for a week or 2. If you got nothing to do and you just want a kind of a dumb movie, which, and when I say dumb, it's not that it's just this silly romance. It's the whole sheriff thing. He's coming in, it's specifically for comedy relief. That's not really needed. If he had just played a straight-laced sheriff or even a funny sheriff, that would be different. But he plays this serious sheriff who does really stupid, like Andy Griffith, Barney Fife kind of stuff that you expect there to be a soundtrack going, wah, wah, or a laugh in the soundtrack when he's on screen. They don't have that, but it's kind of there anyway. You just picture it in your mind. I would have left him out of the movie or had him play a serious role, but that's just my opinion. My rating on this show, let's say 1 out of 5 thumbs. If you are a fan of Dustin Milligan, the Frosty guy, Jack, I'd give it a 3. If you're a fan of Hallmark romances, it's a 2. If you want to talk quality of the movie, 1.5, 2. It's not something that I would run out and rent. It's not something I would spend a lot of time on. It's not something I would definitely seek out because of its great writing capability. I would say the script was written by AI, but it's not repetitious enough for that. So it might have been aided by AI, and then they made sure that it followed the story arc. Romance, falling apart, arguing, getting back together, turmoil, sorrow, and then happy ending. That's about all I got today. Have a great one, everybody, and I will see you on Thursday. Bye.
Jack the snowman stands so tall, muscles made of frost and all, handsomeness with icy flair. Seeing her he stands and stares. Small town cafe glows so bright. Through the window she takes flight. Morning coffee pouring hot. In his heart she hits the spot. Jack of snowflakes, love's embrace, warms his frozen heart's own space. Winter wind won't fade his glow. For this love he'd melt in snow. Cafe doors swing open wide. Jack steps in with frosty pride. Her sweet smile melts his core. He's not just cold anymore. Love's first snowflake on her face. feels the bond in warm embrace. Hand in hand they face the chill. Winter magic